Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and this is going to be a brief little review for Sword Art Online, Episode 8, entitled The Sword Dance of White and Black. And it's a perfect title because the emphasis of this episode, a large chunk of it anyway, is definitely the forward progression of the relationship between Kirito and Asuna. And this is something I suspected for a while now was going to be coming. I don't know how much, in-depth it's going to get between them, whether it's going to be a full-on romance or they're just going to sort of call it, by the end, friendship. But we definitely get some more of that. And I love that this calls back to yet another scene from the opening credits where she's making sort of potted meal, and they're both having it in her little apartment or whatever it is. And we get that in this episode, much like the scene, in a previous episode where Kirito's lying under a tree and Asuna comes over to chew him out. We got that in an episode as well. So I think it's very interesting that they actually have references like that in the opening credits. And, what else will there be to behold that's in the opening credits that we can look at as hints? But basically, we see that Kirito is still on the front lines. He's still doing his lone soldier routine, and he's kicking ass. And he ends up getting his hands on a super rare special food ingredient item that, unfortunately, he can't do much with. So, of course, he takes it back to his good friend Egil to try to sell it. And then Asuna shows up on the scene, and he knows immediately, if anyone can cook this thing, because you need special cooking skills in the game, it's got to be her. So they come to an impromptu compromise where essentially he says, I'll give you half of this thing if you'll make it for us. And we're actually, through this process, introduced to another character, Karadil, who is Asuna's sort of guard, in the guild that they're in. And he's really taking his job way too seriously. I mean, stalker seriously. By the end of this, I'm wondering how big of a threat this character is going to become. But suffice to say, Kirito and Asuna go back to her place to have the meal prepared, and of course they get into more comfortable clothing, and they just have a night of it. It's a pseudo date, if you will, and she makes the food, and they both love it. And then the discussion turns to, kind of looking at Asuna through the eyes of Kirito, what Kirito's been doing, his lone wolf crusade, if you will. She's kind of looking at that like, this is something I wish I had. I'm kind of tired of being surrounded by so many people and having to have so much obligation and responsibility. At least that's what I think she's alluding to with her asking him to team up for a little while. She even sent him a official party join request to just finalize that whole thing. She has the skills, they're equally measured, and she just needs a break from the whole guild routine. So she figures a couple hours spent fighting monsters with Kirito, that'll be a nice escape. And I think it also answers some qualms of Kirito's, because I believe he's doing this lone wolf thing, but he's feeling that loneliness. He doesn't want to have to continue on just being by himself. I think he needs companionship. So it's a perfect match, definitely, when they both agree to go ahead and fight together. Now, this, of course, leads up with him waiting for her, and there's this just a laugh out loud moment where, she comes teleporting in, lands on top of him, because, of course, she's running away from Karadil, who is just, again, Stalker, Mr. Stalker in the episode, and she lands on top, and of course, where does his hand end up? Right on her chest. And that was a little bit corny. I mean, we see that all the time in anime, and I did think they lingered a little bit too much on how, ticked she was, but I mean, she fell onto him, and then she's going to blame him. Well, whatever, I don't know. But of course, once Karadil is on the scene, he's very much got to go toe-to-toe with Kirito, because he feels like this is a beater in the game who's trying to get the best of him and take his place as protector of Asuna. But I don't know, I think there's more to it than that. He definitely seems to get super, super peeved looking at Kirito, and so of course he wants to duel him, and they duel. Kirito takes this guy's weapon out with one shot, and he's still super pissed. He gets another weapon going, and that's when Asuna draws the line. She's like, look, you don't know who the hell you're fighting. Get out of here. Your job's done. This is over. We're not going to use you anymore for my protector. And I love that she totally, stood up to this guy finally, because it seemed like she was genuinely afraid of him. And that's the thing. When he leaves on such a tumultuous sort of feeling. I have to wonder if we're going to see him again and if he's going to become a potential threat. Now, as this scene is unfolding, very interestingly enough, because we've had Kirito wondering about the game creator and whether he's watching all these things unfolding in the world, we get a very mysterious, like, hooded, shadowed figure in the crowd with an evil grin on his face and a weird marking on his glove, who turns away after seeing the scene unfold and, walks off. And I'm just wondering what the significance of that is. Is that the game creator watching everything, or is it some unknown character that has yet to debut? I really have no idea. But of course, I can't wait to find out. And everything pretty much ends in a very astonishing place with Kirito and Asuna going ahead and doing their fighting together and going to investigate the next boss of the highest level that they're on. Of course, they're by themselves, and that's right where we drop off the story. So I'm like, are they going to try to fight this thing? Are they going to turn back? Definitely amped to find out. Now, some of the things in this episode that I found really, really intriguing were the fact that this is 2 years now that everybody's been in the game. And as such, Kirito, again, has been wondering about the game creator. Is this what he intended, and that kind of thing. And the discussion that he and Asuna have about people sort of becoming resigned to their lives inside this game. Some of them aren't even fighting on the front lines anymore. They're just going about their lives inside the game, which is very, to use the word again, an astonishing revelation. And that makes me really wonder, because Kirito and Asuna are so adamant about finishing the game and getting out back to the real world, they are putting all their might into fighting on the front lines, fighting in a guild, fighting as a lone wolf, to beat this game and to free people from it. And I'm really wondering now, is that how the story's going to play out? Are they perhaps going to get to that point where they can save everybody and get people out of the game, but then maybe decide to stay in it themselves? I really don't know, because as the story began, we did hear Kirito sort of telling people he preferred the in-game world to his real life. So it's very interesting. I can't wait to see how this is all going to play out. And again, that idea that people are just really, really, looking at this world as a livable life, knowing that there is something out in the real world. And what is the motivation behind the game creator to put all of these people in there? Was this his intention? Was it to see if humanity could find a sort of secondary life inside a, virtual world, kind of a la the Matrix? So a lot of questions hanging over my head as we continue, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen with this boss fight. Now, if you've seen the episode, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below or as a video response, what you think of the series and what you thought of this episode. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for me on this. So I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.